Hopefully. Setting it up for YouTube Live. All right. Setting it up for YouTube Live. Here we are, finally. We have overcome the adversity. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, folks. Today we had some trouble connecting with our typical plan of streaming to Facebook. Facebook end wasn't getting along with the Zoom end, and here we are. Also, you're probably quite a bit thrown off too, because you're used to seeing Carl Evans start you off. Ultimately, Carl would love to be here, but he deferred to me as a guest host this evening as a former teacher, given tonight's theme that we'll be discussing in this episode of Conversations Cafe. Thanks for joining us. Every Thursday we broadcast live, and you can always tune in to conversationscafe.org. Tonight it might be a little sketchy if you're trying to find us live. Just go to the YouTube, since we had to go with Plan B. If you're tuning in later or somewhere down the line, thank you for listening to Conversations Cafe. It's Hope for the Day's flagship bit of education programming that was born in the walls of Sip of Hope Coffee Bar. Sip of Hope, if you're not aware and you don't live in Chicago, is the first ever coffee shop where 100% of the proceeds go to proactive suicide prevention and mental health education. Our proactive suicide and mental health education programs are pioneering. They are revolutionary, and they are intended to disrupt escalation to the crisis stage as community members in our sphere of influence. And we do that by starting conversations and breaking silence. We empower people through our education workshops that are free and weekly, accessible virtually, to be respectful of everybody's health and safety. But, ultimately, we want people to be able to start these conversations free of medical vernacular, free of labels, free of some presupposition that there's a problem or an issue. So we use the soda bottle analogy to impart to people how they can start this conversation using a very tangible analogy that can be applied with someone who is very young, someone who's very old, or someone in between. Ultimately, by thinking about our minds as a soda bottle, or pop if you prefer, and that the bottle gets shaken each and every day by all the things we interact with as we navigate our lives from the intersections we find ourselves in. So that can be a myriad of challenges and obstacles that can build lots of stress, lots of pressure within the bottle. And by openly talking about what's shaking our bottle, ultimately we are already valving out some of that pressure by speaking the problem, by sharing it, by reaching out to our support network, because the more you talk about it, usually your support network is very understanding. And even if they don't understand what you're going through, they want to help, right? So ultimately, normalizing the conversation becomes much easier. You can even make a game out of it. And I'll let Michelle tell you all about how she's used the soda bottle analogy as I bring her on. I don't want to take her story, but she's got a really nice way how she imparted it to her son. Today, we are embarking on a very, very complicated conversation, a very complicated approach to a learning year, 2020 to 2021. And wherever you're at in America, you're having these same discussions with your community. How is it going to impact the mental health of our kids? How is it going to impact the mental health of our teachers? How is it going to impact the mental health of our parents? Because we know that this pandemic and the realities that it brings are already stressful. And at the end of the school year, it might have been kind of a little easier to see a little hope in the distance, in that, hey, it's the end of the school year. This virtual learning thing is tough, but at least we'll have the summer and then we'll be back at it and things will be back to normal. As we know, that normal's just setting on a washing machine. and the realities are what they are. So we have decided to unpack part of this discussion today as a starting point, and we're calling it "What's Shaking Your Bottle?" Coping with the COVID and the coming school year. Ultimately, it might be an easier question, what's not shaking your bottle? But we're going to bring on a really cool panel of guests, ranging in their intersections as teachers of various grades, as parents, as members of the community that also work with our youth, and kind of see what's going on in our community today. Let's break that silence. Let's talk about the tough stuff. And without further ado, I'm going to start bringing on our guests today. I'd like to bring on my friend Adam Hill. He is an incredible musician, and I have the esteemed and honor of sharing the stage with him quite often. Adam's going to come on here in a second. We'll see if we can hear him and we can see him. Adam, how you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic.
Look at that handsome photo of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate
it. Let me get your music. I think I gotta ask you to start your video.
There we go.
Usually I'm producing and it's a lot to do at once. So I'm glad you're here. Now I can see your face. That is a handsome picture of you. What's that picture your headshot from?
That headshot, actually, I probably need new ones. It's a couple of years old now, but that was it was Christmas one day, and then I had my wife do a bunch of headshots for me, and we got those done. So I wasn't even at a performance. It was at family Christmas. I was like, this is perfect.
Wow, that's handsome. And you want to introduce yourself in brief, let people know who you are and how you intersect on this conversation?
Yes. I am a full-time educator at Romeoville High School. I'll be starting my 16th year here as a music teacher. I teach band. I'm the director of percussion, do jazz band, music technology, guitar, and many other things just throughout the school to stay involved. I am the director of the Chicago Bulls Stampede drumline, and I also teach at University of St. Francis as adjunct faculty, and
oh man,
a lot of music.
Yeah, you are Superman. That's awesome, and I can't wait to kind of dig into this with you. Thanks for being here. I'm going to bring on our next guest, Michelle Thompkins. Let me pull up her guest card here, and we'll get her audio and video going. There's Michelle from the Corner Store Chicago, also a parent. Corner Store Chicago. I'll let her tell you about that, but some pretty cool stuff with Corner Store. And what they do in this community. So Michelle,
hello.
There we go. I can hear you. Can I see you? There we go. Cool. Hey, Michelle, nice to see you. You are a Hope for the Day agent of impact of exemplary degree and part of our first generation of some surrogate level instructors. So being able to take the things we don't say conversation into more communities. You are already well versed in having healing discussions with Chicago's youth with your work with the Corner Store. Do you want to introduce yourself, Michelle, and kind of let us know about your intersection today?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Michelle Thompkins. I'm from the beautiful south side of Chicago. I grew up in a single family home, so I just say the south side is my home because we're a little bit of everywhere at a little bit of each time. Outside of that, I am a mother to an amazingly creative next cartoon creator / animator, Micah. Outside of that, I'm the founder and executive director of the Corner Store, which is a youth mental health and wellness-based organization. And our aim is to connect youth to mental health resources and creative art outlets. And so through our mission, Manifest, Activate, and Empower, we meet the kids where they're at. We provide an unconventional, authentic, but really unique healing experience. And it's probably been the best work I've done so far in my career. Like Michael was saying, I am a Hope for the Day champion and surrogate, and I'm really passionate about seeing kids who look like me, who come from neighborhoods that I come from, have a really honest conversation on suicide prevention. And so I'm happy to be here on this conversation.
I'm so glad you're here too. I can't wait to hear more from you. And to complete this trifecta, I'm going to be bringing on Nancy Bartosz, somebody who I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of different school age kids of varying degrees. And she's traveled this globe over with the Hope Travels initiative, bringing Hope for the Day core philosophies to like 3 different continents. She's just an incredible woman. Gonna bring her on. Nancy, can we see you? Can we hear you? Let's see. Nancy Bartosz, here she is. I'm gonna unmute you. Cool, so we can hear you, we can see you, we can hear you. Yes, we're doing this. Hey, Nancy.
Hey, how are you? I am so happy to be here, and especially to meet Adam and Michelle. It's awesome. So I'm sort of the old teacher, new teacher, right? This is my 27th year teaching, but I've started in kindergarten many years ago and have done everything from being the high school assistant principal to teaching at the junior high level. And now I'm back for my first year teaching 2nd grade and my first year starting the year remotely. So I feel brand new, brand new.
Brand new. I knew that you had taught kindergarten before, but I didn't realize that you started in kindergarten. I started in kindergarten too when I started my teaching career in North City, St. Louis, 28 little 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and holy moly, I didn't have any assistants or anything like that. And that's one way to start a teaching career. You get good at a lot of stuff because you just need to survive. And my mom that year, she got me Kindergarten Cop on DVD at Christmas time, and she thought it was hilarious. I was like, not funny, Mom.
I think everybody should try it once, because if you need anything to remind you that there's no filter for a 5-year-old, so you find out exactly how you're doing in the first 5 minutes of every day. I love it. I love it.
Sure. And was I correct when I said you touched down on like 3 continents during your Hope Travels experience?
Yes, I did. That was just so I took a year leave of absence. I highly recommend, to try to get out there as much and bring all those resources in the classroom and people connections. But yes, I was 3 continents, lots of countries, lots of friends, lots of people, and lots of just sharing mental health, really learning more than sharing, I think.
Yeah, big time. That's so cool. And I think your perspective from like so many different age groups of kids that you've worked with, and so many different cultures that you've worked with in education. You also bring a very, very cool perspective to this tonight. So thank you all for being here. It's great to introduce you all to one another. I love making connections like these. And let's get into it. I was a Chicago Public Schools special ed teacher prior to coming to Hope for the Day and being their education director. So I always knew I'm very well aware of how it is in the beginning of the year, getting ready, getting your classroom set, and just kind of being hopeful, optimistic, but also kind of a little overwhelmed with professional development, and you're just shifting from summer mode to school mode. How are you guys like traditionally when it comes to the beginning of the school year? Are you charting this to be like astronomically more difficult than previous years, or is that just like hyperbole? Is that just being blown out of proportion?
Anybody? I think it's way different.
Yeah, way different, right?
I think it's way different. There are so many the meetings are not the same. You're not talking about the same things because we're not going to be in school. And teachers making their choices. Are they going to go in the building, not go in the building? Just like working on classes. So classes that I've taught a lot of times, which I always change things every year, but I teach 6 different classes, and just trying to figure out what needs to be changed, how I can make it good. How can I make it good? And
integrating it to this, right?
Yeah. And not be standing behind the students to do such. So, it's not like being a first year teacher, but it doesn't feel like I'll say seasoned teacher. I just have the information. It's just how to deliver it so that it is accurate, so that it is engaging, just so that everything seems like it's okay, so I think that's the challenge. I'm a person that I might let an idea roll around in my head for 3-4 days before I put anything on paper, and because I have to like flush it out and give myself time to even make it better, like as I mentally take it in of what it actually needs to be. So it's it's different. It's different.
And as somebody that does the band stuff, marching band usually kicks off a lot earlier than everybody else coming back to school, right? So you've had to probably adapt your marching band like stuff, small
Yeah,
group stuff like that, probably.
a whole yes, a whole bunch. So while like usually, some parts of the band, especially percussion, would start in June, we didn't start until like the middle of July. So that was kind of interesting. But just the way we have to do things, like the band never like, we're only together a little bit, and all the sections are 30 feet apart on a field in between the 6 feet that they have to be in with that drill. So taking all the kids come in, they check in at different parts of the school. They never go inside, and then they go to their sections around the school and they rehearse. They take their 5 to 6, COVID questions. We take their temperature. They wear their masks if they can, if they're not playing, and then we go from there. We're making it happen. We have successfully done 4 weeks thus far, and all has been well. But yeah, like I said, like the meetings and preparation for getting that ready and the help that you need to make it happen is ridiculous. Like parents are there, we have a good sized staff, but again, we are fortunate because not every district is allowing that. So we have to be very careful and make sure that we have everything like legit to the T, or they're gonna cut us off. But the kids keep showing up. We have no competitions.
I mean, the kids, do they have things to? I'm sure they have things to say about everything, and I'm guessing the kids don't feel real heard most of the time when it comes to things like health and safety protocol. Unfortunately,
Yeah, we have to keep on reinforcing, hey guys, you're doing a great job. Let's keep on doing this. We're staying safe. You are making it happen. We're doing it. We got through this many days. Let's keep on going. Like, you're doing a great job. And we just keep on pushing that, because usually, like for us, competition is our driving force. Of course, we love making music and all that, but the driving the boat is that competition. And we have none this year.
Yeah.
So we are literally doing it for mental health and happiness, and we might get 1 or 2 parent performances in.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's crucial to their fall. Like this is probably like essential right now after a shoddy spring semester. So don't downplay the value of letting them just express themselves. Expression is powerful.
And the percussion kids get to smash on some stuff, because I know I'm frustrated, and I know that smashing on some stuff, it can be musical and cathartic.
Yes, 100%. So that taught me a lot this summer, was that they just keep, like, we told them we're not going to do this, but we're going to do this, and it's going to be cool. Okay. And they get to come and they get to see their friends and they get to play music.
So
and
cool.
They follow in the rules. I was like, wow. Okay. I learned something.
That's great, man. Thank you for offering that perspective. And Michelle, for you, you have had a pretty challenging start off to this like fall preparation. As a parent, I'm sure like it's just been a nightmarish to try and like decide, well, I also have this business, I have a job, I have my kid. Oh my God, I'm torn. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, so going back to the spring semester, we were running a few different programs at different high schools, and so quickly having to pivot to Zoom and then Google Hangouts, and then just being like, okay, y'all, what's the best way for us to continue this program? Because I want to be accessible to you. I still want you to be able to like get the best out of this program. And so it was balancing having like one student show up versus having 20 students show up, or having like 5, 10. And so really keeping myself engaged to just like keep showing up, keep supporting the social workers, keep supporting the teachers that I was working with, to the summer where I was like, okay, mom needs a break, go fishing and hiking and doing all the stuff with your cousins and let me really figure things out. But of course, working mom. So now I'm facilitating SEL programs for teachers and principals and all this stuff. So I'm constantly working and moving. To the fall, I have a type 1 diabetic son, and the school that he was previously going to, they said, you know what, we're going to try a couple days on campus. They're not a CPS school. So they were like, we don't know if this is going to be the best environment for your son. And I'm like, okay, we're in a pandemic right now. I'm a working mom. I got to keep the train and the wheels rolling, but figuring out the best program for my son, getting him tutors, getting him in the best experience so that he doesn't feel like, oh, shoot, well, the pandemic really just messed up my life. But it's just like, no, we're going to look at it as a blessing in disguise. We just have to pivot. So I think that's what from spring to now has taught me, is that nothing is guaranteed and you just got to be ready to pivot. And even in the fall, even, having conversations with admin and educators about, all right, well, what's the best way to lead these groups, and what's the best way to lead restorative circles? It's just like being comfortable with pivoting. And I think that as a parent, as a person running my own organization, like that's just what I've been doing for the past 8 months.
Yeah, and the work that you do, just like much of the education that we've prepared you to do with Hope for the Day, it can be emotionally taxing all on its own without any other bottle shakers in the picture, especially given that you were doing some tremendous healing conversations, like facilitating regarding just all of the unrest, all of the protests in the wake of George Floyd's death. And that's some admirable work, but there's no doubt that drains a bit. So like,
oh yeah, and I've had to tap into my coping strategies, meet a few friends. We've gone on like camping trips, we've gone in the woods, we've just like turned off devices. I've allowed myself to eat junk food and take out when I don't feel like cooking. Like it's the small things that really make the difference as a parent. And when your kid's out of town on vacation, you get to have a vacation too. So I don't take any of it for granted.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And then Nancy, you're working with the smaller kiddos right now, where this notion of coming into the school year and plopping a 7-year-old, 8-year-old down in front of a computer for e-learning, like you got to be a little like apprehensive, or at least like, well, shit, I'm going to do the best I can. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you mentioned preparation, and in all jobs, right? In all teaching jobs, no matter whether you're teaching kindergarten or high school, there is a scope and sequence to your year, right? And it's comforting. Our calendar year is very comforting. We start on the first day, we do the institute, the kids come, and that no matter what happens outside of the classroom for kids and for adults, that when you get in, you are creating this positive climate, and it just works, right? You know it. As soon as I get in front of the kids and we're all together, this will work. I think for me, it's been such a whirlwind of, okay, what do I think will work? Wait, we're shifting, we're changing, it's going. And so I'm having a little bit of difficulty wrapping my brain around how to take the strategies that I know are successful and that work in every learning environment, kids and adults, and now taking that to this really different venue that to me seems so much more limited. And so, like Michelle, I have been practicing all kinds of self-talk and self-care and coping strategies because I recognize that there's going to be so much more out of my control. And that's scary to me. You mentioned knowing how, just getting kids to the table is outside of my control. So I don't know. I think every teacher has back to school dreams. I don't know if that's true, but every year for all my years, I've had back to school dreams, and mine this year are very different. So I know I'm processing, but lot that I haven't talked about or even recognized, because every dream is like chaotic and there's big problems in them. So, I know that all teachers right now, the unknown is so different than the typical predictability of our, how the year proceeds. It's scary.
Yeah, it's definitely different for the teachers, it's different for the kids, it's different for the parents. There's no doubt about that. Everyone's impacted across the board. And you can see as we navigate these discussions, you can almost picture everybody's soda bottle just getting shook to the max, where it's like, oh man, can I catch a break? And then not only that, you almost take all of our individual soda bottles and you drop us in this massive, let's call it a 3-liter, right? And that thing's been shooken up for 6 months, everybody being in quarantine and navigating all the bullshit that they've had to rise above, quite frankly, in face of tremendous adversity in a number of ways, right? So then you got this pressure chamber within a pressure chamber. It's a lot because school has often been, responsible for quite a bit of social and emotional development, even when it wasn't a focus, it wasn't a buzzword within curriculum talk, and it wasn't something people were getting sign-offs for their admin. Oh, we did it. We did the SEL. Before that, there's no doubting that the experience alone of being in school, having to deal with kids that are different than you, that have different ideas, and learn how to thrive in those situations, that is SEL too. Just didn't have a name for it back then, right? So do you guys have some thoughts on, like, I know it's complicated, but like just some pros and cons of, okay, yes, we have to respect that this virus is not contained, that there are high risk populations when it comes to this virus. And what are some things that you think are going to be pretty impactful to kids that are really kind of wanting to be back at school? Because I'm sure you've heard some kids be like, well, I just want to go back to school. I'll wear my mask, whatever. I'll wear a visor. I'll wear a full on, suit. Because kids are willing, and in some places doing just that to get back with their friends and having some normalcy. But there's got to be kind of like a pros and cons thing for you guys in that, because like I could see going to school with all that shit being traumatic too. Like I guess I don't really know. It's so messy and there's no clear, easy answers. I just am curious what you guys all have to say about that stuff.
Well, first, I will start by saying I wish my son was in the population of I'm excited to go back. I want to go. No, he's like, no, this is a sweet setup. I get to do my classes in like an hour, maybe 2, and then I can play video games. Or I know mom's working, so she's not gonna be in my hair. So he's like, nah, I like remote learning.
Like, I got
Let's keep this rolling. He's like, I can take it at my own pace. I'm good with it. I see my teachers when I need to see them, but other than that, it's good. But I think the conversations that we have at home is we're doing the best for our community by making sure that from a 9-year-old's perspective, we're washing our hands, we're keeping our masks on, we're keeping distance from others, because there are other people in our community, especially for me, I say people who look like us, who might not have access to going to the hospital right away, or don't even think that if they did go to the hospital, that their concerns would be taken seriously. And so that's why it's important for us to stay home. It's important for us to stay home until it's comfortable and it's safe for everybody to get to be in a shared space. We want to make sure that your teachers are available to keep teaching your classes. You want to make sure, and he's so sweet, he's like, what about the homeless people? And I'm like, yeah, we got to work on protecting the homeless population as well. Like, we all have to do our job to make sure we're being as cautious as we can, but this is what we have to do. And so now he's just like, yeah, I like this. I can't wait for school to start. Professionally, like Nancy was saying, it's hard for me to not be able to be in the same space with the students and be able to bounce off their energy and to be able to read body language or facial expressions. And so I really have to be innovative and really meet them where they're at. So do I need to get on Snapchat with y'all? Like, is that cringy? Or are you going to meet me on the Zoom call? Like, I really care about your health and your wellness. So just meet me where you're at, or tell me how to meet you where you're at, and we'll get it done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to fist bump your little man for that.
Yeah.
What about the homeless, mom? You know, like, because that's out of the mouths of babes. You know, thinking about everybody, and before they get beat down with all this like bullshit that life tends to make you forget about those kind of beautiful youthful thoughts. What about you guys? What are your thoughts in addition to that?
Mike, can you ask your question again? Because Michelle said something and then it kicked me into another thought and I lost the initial question. So I was about to go off on a tangent.
If you want to bounce off Michelle first, I could ask the question after you've kind of.
Okay. It was something that caught my ear because it just states how like there's so many different things going on as far as what's happening with schools and their schedules and things like that. So, which gives people, no matter what, sometimes like a different impression of what's actually happening. So, so like with us, we are doing school, but it's like we're doing it in real time. So let's say we have seven periods a day. Now all the periods will be a little bit longer, but we're only doing like we'll do like 3 periods one day and then 4 periods another day. And they're all in real time with a little bit longer break in between each class. And so that, which is cool, but yet still challenging again. And so I was listening to what Michelle was saying, like how that school is doing theirs. Like it's probably a little bit closer to how I felt like the spring went. Like, okay, we're gonna give you this stuff and you got to do it, and then we're gonna get it back. Now, the best thing about that now is that now everything counts. Like before it was, I don't gotta do that. I already got an A in the class. What I gotta do that for? And like, I get it. They're like, I'm gonna go to work. And so I got high school kids like, yeah, I've been working. Okay, I mean, well, you already had an A, so I guess one gonna change. But it still hurt teachers' feelings because they're like, well, I'm still sitting here doing work.
Yeah.
But I get it. So I saw both sides. I was salty, but not mad at them for trying to make some money to help out their family. But I wasn't, they're trying to help out their family because their dad lost their job or whatever happened. Something happened and they had to step up. And you can't be mad at that. I think a lot of people miss those types of things. People think very much on the surface of what's happening. And this is a deep, deep, deep ocean of things that can go on. So, okay. So that was the thing that I had to piggyback off of Michelle.
Yeah. And then, so the question is just like kind of the pros and cons of, okay, kids are in school 2 days a week and they're at home remotely for a couple days of that week, if that's the scenario for a given school population.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I see the benefit of kids not losing out on these opportunities to socialize and engage with their peer groups and navigate conflict resolution and learning how to haggle with their teachers about a grade. Because those are life skills. You're going to learn to kind of use your skills of communication, either for good or for evil or whatever, some kind of like combination. And so there's like kind of that trade-off. Maybe I guess the question is better asked if there is this trade-off, if we're missing out on these kids being able to interact, maybe what are some suggestions then as teachers you have to really enrich the home environment with literacy opportunities, with deep intellectual conversations and experiences, so that it doesn't necessarily feel like you're having to work like e-learning so much, other than you're bolstering the kids like stimulus at home, since you're like fearful of this lack, right? So yeah, what do you think?
I think it's going to be different for every grade level. Like from high school standpoint, it's going to be easier for me to be on a Zoom call and put kids out into like breakout rooms and have them work, and then I'm just going around like I would do if I was in the classroom. Like if I'd say, if I'm having people work on a music technology program and 3 kids are going to do this song, and I could bounce around. Now, yeah, we can do that. We'll help to help with that, communicating and things like that with their friends they would do normally. But that's probably not going to, at least what I think, would probably not be the same for grade school kids. Like, I don't see my son in second grade, going in the second grade, being able to be in a breakout room without a teacher constantly on them. No, it's not a thing. So
How old are your boys? You got second grade, going into second grade, and
a kindergarten.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it would be interesting to kind of hear what you think is going to be, what's going to be the outcome for you and your little dudes.
Yeah. That was definitely a stressful moment. Like when things start to come out, like, okay, oh, we're going to do this, but then it changed.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster.
So many schools were like changing. Oh yeah, we got this plan. We're awesome. Wait, oops, just kidding. We're not going to do that. Okay, cool. We'll change again. That's all good. So my 2 boys and my wife. So me and my wife, we teach in the same school. So we both teach at Romeoville High School. She's a math teacher. I'm on the other side of the building. She's on the south side. I'm on the north side. And so then our kids obviously go to a different district. Now everybody is now remote. Okay. So I said, I'm going back in the building, because if I don't go back in the building, I'm not going to be able to, I just can't. So I'm going to go into my office and do the thing. Brenna's still back and forth a little bit. I think she's probably going to go in most of the time, but we do have a daycare person that will be with the boys. But then again, I mean, they got to try to do the remote learning with them.
Right.
And so then we got to come back home, and whatever that didn't get done, we're going to do that too. And so I know this sounds weird. So we're I'm going to call us an easy family, because we only have 2 situations. But I just met a wonderful family at the park a couple of days ago. Husband works in a different district, wife works in a different district, and then their kids are in a 3rd district. And balancing all those districts and all those different schedules. And I was like, man. So it's that balancing act of where the kids are going to go and, what we have to do, because even when we're done, I think more than normal, teachers are going to be doing more stuff, even more at home now, to prep for those classes, because we're trying to figure out okay, how long is this really going to take? I mean, there's already, teachers reading billions of essays, listening to musical recordings, preparing this. But now it's almost doubled or tripled in some ways. And so to have to do that and work with the kids, it's going to be legit.
Yeah. And Nancy, you said something really funny when we were talking before the show about getting tap dance shoes and this and that, how it's really hard to, okay, well, I'm going to really try and make this the best me coming through the screen, but you're really not giving me a whole lot of work with here, Zoom, when it comes to second graders, especially, right? So what were you saying before? You were I'm going to pull out all the stops, but
yeah. So as much as I think wow, I am a good teacher, I know that there are the things that kids love at school that are the non-academic things, right? When you ask kids, what's your favorite part of the day? They love lunch, they love recess, they love PE. And then they'll do a lot of the other cool stuff because we try to make it really engaging. And so I think, you were asking about parents and families. I think one of the things that happened in the spring, both for teachers and families, is that we all sort of pulled back this curtain and got to look at life from the other side perspective, right? And so I know as a teacher, I will say, send home work to do. And in my mind, I don't have children of my own. I'm like, okay, get it done. And the next day, bring it back, right? And the parents would say, they come to school and they love everything you do, not knowing that there are a lot of things we do that they're reluctant to do at first, and that they take a lot of convincing. And so I think that's been really interesting for people. But I think for me, the thing I want to do is how can you use this format to be as engaging as possible, knowing that we're focusing primarily on the core, which are the things that are a little less palatable when they're not surrounded by all of these stuff that kids love. And so, yeah, I joked, like, I bought tap shoes. What I want to say to my students this year, and I joke, but I really did buy the shoes, is like, we're all learning. And for me, that's a hard thing to learn. I don't have balance, I don't have skill. And so I want us to all recognize that this may be hard, but that good things can still come out of this, you know. And I know, Michelle, you talked about that, like just turning that mindset and walking in the door, recognizing, you know. And I think with one of the best things I've learned through interactions with Hope for the Day is like not avoid the conversation, right? It's not going to help anybody if we walk in and act like, okay, this is normal, you know, let's just go on. But I think really engaging is going to look different, and meeting kids where they're at. But I think as importantly, meeting families where they're at, because I have so much of a better understanding of, wow, 21 students in my room, 21 very distinctly different life situations. And now I'm working in their environment instead of mine. And it's just, you know, going to take us to have these hard conversations together. And I think it will build community. I really do feel like we are building a different kind of community with families. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective there, Nancy, about like you take all the other stuff away that, yeah, we like this, we like that, and then it just becomes this. But that perspective of how they're going to get to start to enjoy those things more. That's, yeah, I like that, because that changes their mind. Like they like that because like they're chilling with friends, but now we take that away. So how are you gonna like fill that void? That's such a good perspective. I like that.
Yeah, and I think even for Micah, like they didn't necessarily do classes in real time. They were kind of given like, this is our task for the week. We're gonna have like intentional moments where we socialize together, where we air out frustrations, or we're reading together, or the class like plays Minecraft together, or they're doing like different tournaments with each other. So it's like they've still got that socialization aspect. And the teachers and the educators and even us parents are like, oh, try this app, try this app, try this app. You can get like a school account, and now the kids can play with each other there. Play dates and, you know, social distance play dates as well really helped us once we got out of like that first initial shock of, oh my God, what is this? Like, nope. It started to get a little bit easier. And so now I'm really comforted in that, as Nancy was saying, there's an opportunity for like community and just like humanity to really bleed through the conversations of, we're all trying to do the best that we can. What are some ways that we can engage these kids? If you're doing it in real time, or if you're giving your students a block of work to do, what are some ways that we can really tap into each other holistically? Do you have food? Do you have the devices that you need? Are you staying up till 4 a.m., high school students, when you should be sleeping and getting ready for, you know, academics? Oh, is PE cringy? Well, did you tell the PE teacher? No. Well, tell them. Like, you don't want to do PE in your home. Find different ways to mix it up, but have that conversation. And then you hear the PE teacher say, well, I don't know how to engage them. Have that conversation instead of just like throwing spaghetti at the wall. But that speaks beautifully to what everyone is doing, is we're all trying to figure it out. There are many different ways. I don't want to say skin a cat. That's what my grandma says, and that's pretty morbid. But there are many different ways to get things done. And I think it's true.
No, it's an appropriate saying though. I get what you mean. It's just one of those weird old ones. And I think it's so cool that you brought that back to the kids. Hey, talk to the kids, ask them, because I'm sure you've heard a lot from you know, youth in Chicago about their thoughts. Adam, I'm sure you've heard from your marching band kids, like, because kids need to blow off the steam, and frankly, right, they haven't really developed any sort of true filter until like they're put in the job, in the workforce. But yeah, that's I've just been floored by youth since spring. I got to do push in virtually with a couple different age groups of kids where there was, in person planned hope for the day experiences that I had to figure out. Oh, okay, well, now we're doing it this way. And kids that wanted to be there were there and sinking their teeth into it, using the chat, raising the hand, all that, and with real serious subject matter, but just giving incredible insight. So I think it's been just remarkable to see our youth step up with all of this wild shit going on in the world. And some of them being like, yeah, suit me up. I'll wear the visor and the goggles and the mask and the suit, and I'll still go and hang out with my friends. So that's encouraging. It's definitely encouraging. And, I'm hoping that with virtual remote learning starting off the school year, you're going to immediately kind of know who the leaders are or who are the kids that are really all about, gleaning whatever information they can from you, because their kids are hungry probably for the stimulation. And, they're all pretty tech savvy. They've been dealing with this stuff their whole lives, whereas, us adults got the learning curve and everything. So,
but to speak to that really quickly, if I can, I want to shout out like all educators and teachers who've had to, at the drop of a dime, just like come up with lesson plans and try to make it work, like Nancy said, and like, okay, this didn't work. We're going to try it next week, something different. We're going to try a different app. We're going to do this. We're going to do it in real time. Real time didn't work. That sucks. Okay. And so my work over the summer, pouring into educators and administration and being like, it's okay to have a human moment. Everything you're doing is virtual. This is weird. Like, we haven't had to do this pretty much in our entire careers. So it's okay to say, Miss Michelle is not having it today. Like, it's not a good day for me. How are y'all feeling? Like, how is the pandemic been for you? We could do academics in like 10 minutes, but let's just have a human moment. Or I remember Micah's teacher the past semester being like, we're not going to do math today. We're just going to do math games, or we'll do math drills, and just being okay with giving yourself the grace to not have it together.
I think one
Grace, boom.
The benefit this year was, at the beginning of every year, we spend weeks setting up rituals and routines for the classroom. And so shifting that from an active classroom environment to remote learning in one day, we didn't have that time to set those up. And so I think there are some benefits to starting this way, whatever way schools are starting, is that now we're setting up the rituals and routines together for this new learning environment. So I feel in a lot of ways there are going to be wins that are just more successful because of that step back and now step in differently. And so I think sometimes people are reluctant about remote learning because they're comparing it to this sort of chaotic Monday, go, and I think it won't be that way. I think it's going to be much more deliberate and much more specific.
And the common theme that I keep hearing too in these solution-based approaches is like unity and unifying our communities, not just parents and teachers, because parents are like, oh man, teaching is fucking hard, and I don't like it. I don't like it remotely. And so, having a little more grace with the educators in that regard. And then there's like this reciprocal nature of, oh man, teachers' eyes opening to just how difficult it can be to weigh the livelihood and the health and education of your child. Yeah. I guess all this other shit going on in your life. And in a lot of ways, there's some unity between parents and teacher populations, although it has been quite divisive. I know that that's a whole other piece of this that could be a whole other show, right? But there's also this opportunity to invite the kids, these amazing, resilient youth, to these conversations as you set up your routines and your classroom culture for uncharted waters of the coming learning year, right? If I could, Adam, is it okay if I share your light project portrait just for a second? I think it's relevant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to screen share the light project's a portrait series from Hope for the Day. It's just 2 photos. It represents the light and the dark in all of us, but Adam Hill was just featured as part of our light project series. And I think what's most important to me is this poll quote here. At least for myself, you're trying to fit in a lot, especially at a younger age when you start to make decisions about things that are going to make you happy. Why that stands out for me from the answering of the 2 questions, how has mental health affected your life and what gives you hope, with these 2 beautiful portraits, is that we're having this opportunity now to talk about mental health as it applies to everybody. It makes the soda bottle analogy, which was already powerful enough to try and level that playing field in a pre-pandemic world. And that's why I care so deeply about bringing it to anybody and everybody. But now people are like, oh, what you were saying a year ago? Yeah, now the pandemic has shown me that that's true. And it brings me no joy that we are here in this current reality the way it is. But it does give me hope and strength to see that people are going, oh yeah, I got to check in with myself. I got to check in with myself every single day because this is hard. And I got to check in with the people I care about every single day because this is hard. And I got to be gentle with myself because my bottle is shook. My bottle is super shook. And the fact that you're thinking about the youth all the time, Adam, just shows what a commendable and amazing, role model and teacher and educator you are. But you're thinking about the younger people, and you were making decisions when you were younger about things that are going to make you happy. All those young people right now are looking around at the adults of the world being like, all the adults have lost their mind. I guess I got to figure this shit out myself. And so just leading by that example of taking time for self-care, taking ample extra time for self-care to really be proactive with our mental health and our general health as one holistic piece is just so important, man. And because I always like to think of that soda bottle as another type of container too. I have the potential for my mind to work me up into a very, very unhealthy, negative spiral, just feeding that negativity. And when I think about mental health with regards to the soda bottle, and I think about my mind filling up with bad thoughts, I remind myself, what are the things that I do that usually always give me good thoughts? I bet you Adam could guess one. What's one thing, Adam, that I probably do that gives me good thoughts almost without fail?
Playing guitar and singing.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You got it. Bingo. But
Easily.
If I do that and it's not working, that's okay. But to know that I have these powers to fight back with the things that make me feel good, instead of it being a really complicated medical conversation, it can just be like that. Hey, I got bad thoughts filling up. I'm going to try and, water it down with the good stuff. And that helps me on those really challenging days. So I just wanted to share everybody those beautiful portraits and that beautiful quote, man, because right now you got to figure out the things that make you happy. And you got to find out some extra ones too. And don't be scared to try some new stuff, virtually even, right? I'm going to Zumba virtually. How about that? You guys, what do you think about Mike doing some Zumba?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a thing. My coworker's wife, she does it.
I like to shake it. I'm just not a very good dancer.
It doesn't matter. You're getting up, you're moving, you're being active. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Getting back into the structure of life is another challenge teachers are facing. I know during early pandemic, like all bets were off for me. I slept, my sleeping was off. I was eating milk duds at 8 a.m. to get ready for the day. And so now I have had to spend like the last 20 days totally mentally, but also physically getting back into building stamina. I mean, I did not do all of the things to cultivate a great mindset first 4 weeks of the pandemic. So now it's a new level of discipline to prepare to go in just a very healthy way. And I think that's critical right now for teachers. I think being able to compartmentalize time for self, time for self-care, and the school tasks that will be endless are going to be all of the difference for how these first 6 weeks go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Man, I was messed up when we, like there's no other way to say it. Like everything was off, everything was off. I'd be like, oh, okay, I got to make sure I do this, and then you're just walking around the house.
I know for me, Micah's breakfast for like the first 2 weeks of the pandemic was Pop-Tarts. He's like, can I have a Pop-Tart? I was like, yep, have a Pop-Tart. You want a sip of coffee? You got to get to class in 5 minutes and I don't have time to feed you appropriately. Just go do it. I'm going to have a Pop-Tart too. Pop-Tarts for breakfast.
Yeah, it's a mess. It was a mess, man. I'm really happy that that's done. Like that initial shock of change of life. Man, what a brutal moment. And now we get to go into something with a little bit more, actually not a little bit, a lot more structure, a lot more guidance. I think a lot more support. And I think that it can come out, good. One thing that has really bugged me about everything that is going on are that people think that teachers are trying to be lazy. That's really been bugging me, because teachers are they're nervous for their health and how schools will be, and even if we cut it in half or cut the school in fourths or whatever, all the genius plans have been, that it's so hurtful because in March and April, we were the front runners of life, and I can't believe all the memes and videos and posters that came out about all that. And then as soon as it's like, oh, people want to take care of that health because everyone sees what's going on, it just changes. And it's kind of hurtful. I mean, the amount of work that is going into now from admin, like prepping all the things, like I remember seeing a post and it was dissing on admin. And if I could have jumped through the screen, and I didn't type anything because it just wouldn't have done what my feelings justice. But I was like, what? Like, I know for a fact that there are admin out there handing out lunches to families, trying to plan graduations, trying to do A, B, C, and D every single day and give us guidance. And you have the nerve to say that. I'm like, it was just so ignorant. It's very ignorant of people to think that things are easier. It is not true, and I hope that, that when people watch this, that they can say and stand up for people that for educators and admin and nurses and security guards and parapros and all of the counselors and like all of these people that know that they want to be with students and guiding them, because we know that students need it and teachers need it too. Okay. I mean, we need that. We are teachers because we like to feed information and we like to touch human beings and make them realize their potential. So this is way deeper than just what people see on the surface. Oh, well, they get to stay at home. Man, that ain't fun.
Yeah.
I don't know where you got that from. That's, it's very close to me because I am a music teacher, and that to be in front of people making music is how you make music. And I've done several virtual performances and put them together and this and that. But then nothing like standing in front of a class, guiding your ensemble and seeing them become freaking amazing and killing it.
Yeah.
So can nobody tell me that teachers are being lazy and not wanting to do the thing? We want to do the thing. It actually is easier to do the thing when we're at school. If they really want to know, it's way easier.
You brought up earlier, Adam, and I don't think that there's been enough discussion about this, in the media, but many of the limitations of the spring were because of the way the system was set up, right? Like, don't do
Yes.
more than 60 minutes. Make sure that you're not taking attendance, you're not giving grades. So some of the structures that didn't exist kind of created that teacher stigma, because as much as you wanted to do, you could never have that final line. And so now it's this idea that people just didn't want to do anything, instead of understanding that really there were so many roadblocks to be successful in the spring.
I would even take it a step further and saying that the spring semester, it wasn't about test scores and it wasn't about data. It was about human lives, and that was it. And so I think this speaks to an even deeper conversation that collectively our community needs to continuously have about equity and about putting ourselves in other people's shoes and bringing up that humanistic point of, we're not going to get it right first off, or, the resources that this school might have, this school doesn't have. And so what progress might look like over here does not look like progress over here. And we're not looking at test scores, or we're not looking at how well the students are performing. We're just trying to make sure that students are getting lunches, that they are holistically taken care of on a different level. And that is the bigger conversation, is holistically, how are our students, how are our admin, and how are our teachers going to thrive in the upcoming school year? And that is a bigger issue that we need to focus on, rather than, oh, this teacher isn't doing enough, or they've got it easy. But it's like, let's talk about how many kids had to do their homework on their cell phones until the conversation was, oh, we need to get devices in their hands. Or let's talk about the fact that there were many institutions that were shut down. And so now you're trying to figure out solutions, but the solutions were stripped away from a bigger system. Those are the conversations that we need to have, instead of placing blame on the folks that I personally now have so much more respect for through personal lived experience of. We need to focus on the bigger conversation and the bigger issue and get our heads out the mud. I think that's all I got to say about it.
Well, and hopefully we can keep both those plates going that you talked about, that really human, important plates, while at the same time ensuring that everybody's there and they have access and that they show up. And I think that's where this beautiful blend can happen. But definitely we have learned a lot about the hierarchy of needs, right? Like, we saw it in live action outside of just reading about it in a textbook and talking about it outside of people. Like, we've experienced that with our communities. And so hopefully that's the big win that comes out of this, is that we don't go back, but that
we just care that people have needs, like regardless of skin color, regardless of socioeconomic background, like people have basic needs. And if our government or if our overarching systems can't support that, that's an issue, because these are people holistic needs that are not being taken care of. And that is also something that we saw in the spring.
Yes, we did.
For sure. And then those kids that are on our 504 plans and IEP plan, and like getting those that help. If a student comes to me and like, I really need to go see my social worker right now, all right, I will see you shortly. Is there anything we can talk about first? Maybe. Okay, well, go ahead. You'll be back. Like I think about that. Like, there are so many students that just could not move forward when all of it went down, and we're trying to support them from afar, as best as I think that we can. But like, they took it hard. There were students that took it extremely hard. I think I took it hard too, but I I manifested that out in a totally different way. But then when I look back, I was like, oh man, I was messed up, you know. But I put my mind into other things, but I was, you know, and then I could finally start to admit that.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
mean,
was not good.
that's classic for me too, is like I can admit when I wasn't doing my best, like I wasn't okay, like after it's like got a little distance, a little space in between it. And that's what
Mhm.
proactive prevention has been for me, like over the last 6 years, is trying to close that window of time a little bit every day so that I can kind of report out someday in real time, hey, I'm not okay right now. I need some help. Rather than being like, oh man, yeah, 2 weeks ago I was down in the dumps, man. Um, because you know that like does rob you a little bit dignity and respect, because you deserve that support in those times of need. And the thing you alluded to about this warped distortion of teachers being lazy, whatever. Well, that same warp distortion is come into play in a lot of different factors when it comes to just human dignity. So I think we've covered a lot of amazing ground today. And with reference to that, people's needs and basic needs, there's a bunch of cool stuff that's happening in the Hope for the Day world right now, as far as giving people opportunities for direct action and for mutual aid relief. And one of the things that is a common thread through all of these conversations, and when it comes back to inequity in our populations and what communities get things and what communities don't, we always come back to the fact that there was hungry people before this pandemic. And if you are hungry, how can you be expected to learn and show up for your e-learning if you're worried about the food in your belly not being there? So we've been partnering with a really cool organization called Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health. Southside gentleman named Christopher Lamarck, remarkable. Yeah, he's amazing. Michelle and him have worked on stuff together too in the past. Um, I got to meet him in June, right about like a couple months into all of this, and I wasn't satisfied with us just doing our Zoom stuff that we had pivoted to. I wanted to find a way for us to address things that are absolutely part of this conversation right here in our backyard in the city of Chicago. So July 5th, we were able to help Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health with their Poverty is Violent food drive to feed 1,000 families here in Chicago, because the CPS not being open and a lot of Chicago families depending on the school for a couple square meals for their little guys and girls. That's a big deal. And it's always been a big deal, and it will never stop being a big deal until we start to reevaluate some of the structures that uphold such stark inequity. So I want to wrap up tonight's conversation with a call to action that the Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health organization and Sip of Hope Coffee Bar and Hope for the Day, there's a 10,000 family initiative that we are currently in the middle of collecting donations at Sip of Hope, collecting donations at Sip and Savor on the South Side, our sister coffee shop. And we are also making it really easy to be a part of this very special, very direct action right here in Chicago to feed 10,000 families that likely have been impacted to degrees that we cannot imagine if we had a square meal today. Okay. So the reason I bring that up is because you guys all touched on this hierarchy of needs, and with kids having to navigate education in their home setting for the first time ever, starting a school year this way, it's really important to be sensitive to food scarcity and the lack of these basic needs being met and how it can impact your education, so that you can kind of just tune yourself in to your community, fill in your perceptual blind spots that we all have, and just try to be a part of what better can look like as we go into a very, very, you know, we're not sure what's coming, right? We continue to have these unanswered questions that can make us feel very anxious. So be able to focus on things that you can control. And so if you can control volunteering a little bit of your time, they're doing it in a very safe and methodical approach over 3 days at the end of August, distributing this food, packing these gift boxes. And if you have $1 to give, that counts, that matters. If you have $40 to give, that sponsors a whole family's gift box. And we're bringing Christmas to Chicago a little early, Christmas in August. So if you'd like to be a part of something that feels like you're exerting a little bit of control in a world where everything feels like it's super out of control, do something like that. Or join us for a Things We Don't Say workshop that happen every week. Or do something nice for yourself. Get away from your screen and just take yourself on a little self-care date. Do you guys want to wrap things up by letting people know some parting words and maybe where they can find you at if you'd like them to follow up with you? And then we'll close out with a video from Christopher Lamarck. Adam, how about you, buddy?
Okay. If anybody wants to, you can follow me on Instagram at ADHBeats, and ask me questions, see what I'm up to, different music venues, or just because I post silly stuff sometimes. So you can catch up with me there. I'm going to say stick up for what you know that is right and that is humane and that supports the education of what students need. And just know that if you are not seeing it and it isn't being shoved down your throat, that doesn't mean that it's not there. There are people working very, very hard, very, very hard. And I think we get into a space sometimes where we only know it if somebody shows us it, but that's not the truth right now. There's too many people to show is what it is. There's too many people to show. And just know that people are working tirelessly to help your children. People are working tirelessly to help my children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I got.
Thanks, man. And if you guys want to see Adam do his thing with the Bull Stampede, YouTube some of the Stampede videos because he directs a really cool percussion ensemble. That's all I say on that. Fanboy. All right, Michelle, how about you?
Whew. Okay. I will start with ways to connect and a little bit about what I'm up to. Ways to connect first. Please follow us at thecornerstorechicago.com or not.com. Good Lord. Okay. Please follow us at the Corner Store Chicago. You can follow me at Michelle D. Thompkins. My name is right there. I am excited to be piggybacking and starting some Things We Don't Say conversations with Mike very soon, and specifically bringing it to populations that I've worked with in the past. So to that, if you are interested, please sign up. It's every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And in addition to, if there are any educators out there, any admin who are looking for really cool programs, if I don't toot my own horn, where we dig deep, but in a really cool and authentic way on mental health and wellness, hit me up. We have some openings for some different schools. Say that again?
I give a 5-star review.
Thank you. Take Mike's word for it. The kids love it. We end up talking about like shade room one day. The next day we're listening to music and we're diving deep on like relationships to body positivity. I bring in other organizations like Hope for the Day, and we have really holistic conversations. So if that's something you're interested in, we are also open for that as well. And then finally, and I think most importantly, give yourself the grace to be present in the fall, whether that's in your mistakes, whether that's in your successes, and whether that's in a trial and error season. You're not going to get it right. You might be doing really well. but give yourself the grace to just be present and to enjoy this really historical moment. Do what you can to propel the next person forward. So if that means making sure that people eat, hop on that. Social Works and what is it? Save Money, Save Life. They're collecting school supplies so that students who are at home can have the basics like school supplies, Chromebooks, whatever the case may be. You know them, follow them as well. Back to Hope for the Day. I'm very excited to be leading those conversations with Mike. So if you're interested in seeing us go back and forth, please do those signups. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh yeah. And Michelle, the corner store was our community partner spotlight last month too. So she's been putting in the time, and peervention, peer-to-peer proactive suicide prevention, it can be even more authentic if we empower peers in different communities to speak to those peers in their community. So I'm very pumped to have you do those conversations with me. And then Nancy, any parting words for our audience?
No, I would say connection. I'm on Instagram too, or also in the Hope Travels group on Facebook, connected to Hope for the Day. I'm going to just work really hard to practice gratitude. I think Adam brought up that there have been a lot of people preparing for the next weeks, and that those people have been just working tirelessly. I look at our school admin who usually have a light season in the summer, and I could not be more grateful for the way that they have stepped up and considered the logistics of evolving plans and have been flexible and supportive. And I hope that's the case for many teachers, because it will be so essential for our success. And then I also think, for all the organizations that are working so hard, Hope for the Day and beyond, that you are inspiring. I think I needed a little bit of inspiration today. And so I'm grateful to have gotten it. Thanks, Michelle and Adam and Mike, because that means a lot going forward. And then just a request for grace. I think you brought up, Michelle, having grace with ourselves, but also just requesting grace on behalf of teachers, recognizing we're going to be in your homes in new ways. We'll mess up, we'll slip up, we'll say things that, don't come out the right way. And just if we could walk into that with a relationship of recognizing that we need to extend some grace to really move our communities forward.
Well said. Well said. Well, it's been really a pleasure having you guys on. Obviously, we're going to probably have to circle back to this conversation as well, because this is just the beginning. And, we'll be in touch about that, and maybe getting some student perspectives will be an interesting way to push this conversation forward in future iterations. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys again for your time. It's been really great to hear your perspectives. And as always, Hope for the Day. Couldn't thank you enough for sharing your time and energy. So I'm going to be muting my guests, and we're going to be saying goodbye to them, and I'm going to take you out with some closing words. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it. Ultimately, there is a lot more that could be talked about on this topic, and we could be here for hours and hours. But mostly what I want to make sure that I impart to you as we leave today and you go about your business is just what they said. It's okay not to be okay. Give yourself that grace to accept that in your heart first. And you're not always going to do it right. It's okay not to be okay is a constant practice. It's having to overcome stigmas that have been programmed into your whole life. Unlearning those types of things are hard. But using that soda bottle analogy to talk about what's shaking your bottle is very important to get things off your chest and to start to feel okay again. And to recognize those valves that you utilize so that when they stop working, you know that you need to ask for some more help. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not equivalent to a lack of strength or competency. You're all human beings that are going through uncharted waters of a global pandemic. And if you're tired for no reason, or you're having trouble focusing for no reason, or you're feeling like you can't regulate your emotions, 1 minute you're angry, 1 minute you're sad, well, remind yourself that mental health impacts all of us. That these external factors, all these unknowns, all this anxiety, and all this divisive kind of subject matter, well, it can really, really take a toll and leave a psychological injury, which is what Hope for the Day calls trauma. And it can require some care, some self-care, sometimes some professional levels of care to heal. And that's okay. We have two educators from Chicago Public School that were not able to join us this evening. A woman named Britt Kaplan and a woman named Nicole Summers. They're both special ed teachers from Chicago Public Schools. Mad respect as a former. And they've started something called Breathe for Hope, which is a specialized, free, accessible yoga and mindfulness program in partnership with Hope for the Day, based off the Breathe for Change modality. A lot of breath work, a lot of self-care anywhere. And I want to invite you guys to partake in that. Sign up at peervention.org. There's a full listing of events and Zoom pre-registration links. But Breathe for Hope will be taking place Tuesday evening, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time via Zoom. And it'll be a really, really good opportunity to take some more tools, some self-care anywhere to navigate these troubling times. Now, I mentioned the coffee, hip hop, and mental health. Poverty is Violent 10,000 effort that Sip of Hope is taking part in. Know that Sip of Hope, if you are in Chicago, is 3039 West Fullerton Avenue. You can drop off a variety of dry goods that don't require refrigeration to help be part of that. You can also stop by Sip of Hope on Saturday, this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to noon. Sip of Hope is open from 8 to 1 every day with walk-up service, but Christopher Lamarck from Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health will be taking over the patio for a pop-up shop. So you can buy apparel or coffee from him. You can sign up to be a volunteer. You can register families to get gifts. There's a whole lot of ways to get involved. So if you'd like to meet Christopher, if you'd like to say what's up, if you'd like to get a fresh Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health t-shirt that supports the cause, now you know. You can also go to CHHAMH.com. That's CHHAMH.com, Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health, to find out more information on that. Follow them on Instagram. Make sure you follow up on our guests, our lovely guests from tonight, and continue to check out Conversations Cafe broadcasts every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Know that all the archived past live streams are available on YouTube and Facebook and are available also as audio podcasts the following week, wherever you listen to podcasts, at Anthologies of Hope and via the Aux Podcast Family Network. So please put them in your earbuds, put them on your to-listen list. There's some great conversations featuring so many agents of impact and partners in prevention that help us do this work of meeting people where they're at, not where we expect them to be, to normalize these conversations about mental health as a way of preventing further loss of life. I'm going to leave you tonight with a really beautiful video that Christopher sent over to give you an idea in his words of what we're looking to do with this initiative. So thank you all so much for tuning in as always. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have hope.
Hey, this is Christopher Lamarck. I'm the founder of Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health. We are excited because we're getting close to gifting 10,000 families here on the south side of Chicago. And look, it's going to be an amazing time. It's Christmas in August. So this is how you can help. You can help by purchasing merchandise, coffee, right? Our own dark roast. Or you can do something very, very simple. All you have to do is text donate.feedshy to 77948. Again, text donate.feedshy to 77948. $40 per family, or you can sponsor many families, okay? We need your help, we need your support. It is Christmas in August. Let's make it happen. This is the People's Food Drive.